Chinese New Year will arrive in several days. By then, it'll be the year of wood snake. So I thought it'll be the perfect timing to talk about king cobra. Most people know about king cobra. At the very least, you would have heard of its name. It's the longest venomous snake after all. It's available on display in many zoos or similar facilities. But actually, we didn't really know that much about king cobras. We missed the fact that there might be more than one king. So, let me bring up the question. What exactly is king cobra? Just like how it's called, king cobras are cobras, but not true cobras. They are classified in the Elapidae family, together with other cobras, kraits, and sea snakes. King cobras are called king cobras because, well, they are big, I guess. Like I said, the longest venomous snake that currently exists. And also, they like to eat other snakes. More on this later. The king cobra was originally named Hamadryas, which is the same name as the three nymphs in Greek mythology. Most of you are familiar with the term dryad, right? Hamadryas, or more commonly pronounced hamadryad by English speakers, are a type of dryad. That's also why I said it's the perfect timing to talk about king cobra, by the way. The king cobra was named Hamadryas because, in certain periods, they stay on their nest below a large tree or bamboos. So it's like they are the guardian of said tree. More on this in the behavior section. But yes, that's why they are originally called Hamadryas. Some even called them hamadryad back then. There is a problem though. Hamadryas as a genus is already taken by some butterflies, so it's not valid. The king cobra was assigned multiple different names since some placed them in Naja together with other cobras, Dendraspis, not to be confused with Dendroaspis by the way, as that is another group of snakes, and also Hoplocephalus. However, the one that sticks to this day is yet another name, Ophiophagus. Ophis means snake and phagos means eat. So basically, snake eater. And the singular species that we used to know is called Ophiophagus hana. The origin of this specific epithet is not clear, but some suggested it's taken from Hannah Sarah Wallich, which is the author's cousin. By the way, I tried googling for her picture, but there isn't any. There is an image of her father though, which is the author's uncle, a renowned botanist back then. But anyway, I might have put it in the title or even mentioned it in the opening thought, but yes, now there are 4 recognized species of king cobras. There is Ophiophagus bungarus, the Sunda king cobra, which was the specimen's named Naja bungarus from 2 centuries ago. Bungarus is the name of kraits, by the way, another Elapidae genus in the region. Then there is Ophiophagus kaalinga, the Western Ghats king cobra. The name basically means blackish, but it's also an abbreviation form of kaalinga havu, which apparently is associated with Siva. The 4th is Ophiophagus salvatana, the Luzon king cobra. Salvatana is apparently the Tagalog name for them, hence it's used as their specific epithet. These are based on both molecular and morphological analysis, with over 150 specimens, so it's very convincing. Their distribution doesn't overlap, so it's also intuitive that these different populations evolved into different species. Ophiophagus hana is relatively widespread, from eastern South Asia, China, and reaching as far as Thailand in the Southeast Asia. Ophiophagus bungarus can be found in the Malayan Peninsula and the Sundaland part of Indonesia, including Bali, and also some islands in southern Philippines. Ophiophagus kaalinga is endemic to the Western Ghats of southwestern India, while Ophiophagus salvatana is endemic to the Luzon Islands in northern Philippines. Next, let's talk about their morphology. But before that, I don't think I need to talk about the general snake morphology, but just in case, yes, they have the typical elongated body without any limbs. Their dorsal scales are oblique and relatively uniform, while ventral scales are rectangular white rows. As with other elapids, they have proteroglyphous fangs. That means non-foldable venom fangs that are located on the front end of their dentition. King cobras are big compared to other venomous snakes, averaging 3 to 4 meters long, but there was a report of 5.8 meters long individual. Males are usually bigger than females. King cobras also have food, just like other cobras. As with other extant reptiles, we need to look at their meristic traits to properly identify them. That means looking at their scales and proportions. And yes, just in case you are wondering, that includes crocodile, by the way. You do need to count crocodile's scutes and scales to properly identify their species. Anyway, one of the most striking traits of the king cobras are a pair of big occipital scales, at least compared to other cobras. It's this one, by the way. Because their dorsal scales are relatively big, they also have relatively low mid-body scale count, which is consistently 15, at least in the specimens used in the published research. By the way, mid-body scale count is the number of transversal scale row counted right in the middle, or at least around the middle part of their body. You can count them diagonally, V-shaped, or zigzagging like these. All three methods should produce the same count, so you could just choose the one you are comfortable with. Now, if we're talking about each of the 4 species, we can also use meristic traits to identify them, referring to this table right here. You could just look at your specimen, count each trait, and compare it with this table. However, me talking about each of these traits and just reading the numbers would be redundant because most of you wouldn't remember or perhaps don't even care about it anyway. And those who care about it and will use it practically should just revert to this publication in the first place. So, for the sake of this video, let me just talk about the more generic traits. That is, their bands. Not the music kind of band, the pattern kind of band, their dorsal bands. All of their juveniles have bands along their dorsal. And as you can see here, each of them is unique. Ophiophagus hana have lighter and wider bands. Each band is more than 1.5 scales wide. Ophiophagus kaalinga have less and paler bands, which are also more than 1.5 scales wide. Ophiophagus bungarus have light but narrow bands. Meanwhile, Ophiophagus salvatana have a highly angled narrow bands, which look like it's V-shaped instead of a band. But remember, these are the juveniles. Adults have a slightly different pattern. Well, at least in 2 of them. Adult Ophiophagus hana and kaalinga basically retain their bands, while the bands on Ophiophagus bungarus body are a lot fainter. Meanwhile, Ophiophagus salvatana have no bands. Alright, let's talk about their lifestyle and behavior. Like other snakes, king cobras can detect chemical substances with their Jacobson's organ by flicking their tongue. Unlike many other snakes though, their vision is relatively good. They are mostly diurnals, and they spend almost half of their time foraging for food. As their namesake, well, their scientific name at least, they prefer to eat snakes. This behavior is called ophiophagy, and it's not exclusive to the king cobra, by the way. We don't know for sure why the king cobra prefer eating snakes, or at least, I don't think there is any conclusive answer. However, this preference is quite beneficial because, at the very least, there are not a lot of animals that exhibit such behavior. So basically, you don't have that much competition. They will also eat other small animals though. They usually eat harmless snakes such as rat snakes, but they are also seen eating pythons, venomous snakes, and even exhibit cannibalistic behavior. As with many other Ophiophagus animals, they are venom resistant. Remember, resistant, not immune. Still, they will avoid getting bitten by venomous snake if they are able to do so. They are observed to target the back of the head when hunting venomous snakes to avoid getting bitten. When they got a retaliating bite from venomous snakes, they will usually release them and just wait it out until their prey is dead out of envenomation. Speaking of venom, their venom is not the most potent, but the sheer amount of venom they inject makes it extremely deadly. Their venom is mostly neurotoxin, meaning it attacks the nerve system. However, there are also various other components, such as cardiotoxin. Basically, their venom stops your nerve system, so you will be feeling lethargic, visions will get blurry, you'll eventually be paralyzed, and that means you will stop breathing. And also, your heart will eventually give out and stop beating. That will cause organ damages. And, well, you know the rest. Basically, you'll die if not treated. King cobras themselves are not aggressive. However, they can be aggressive when they feel threatened. Just like other cobras, they will raise their head and spread their hood when they are threatened. Another case when they are especially aggressive is when defending their nest. I did mention it briefly, but yes, unlike most snakes, or even most squamata, king cobras construct nests and stay to guard their eggs. Their nests are made out of dry leaf litters and are usually made at the base of a tree or among bamboos. Oh, by the way, in case you are wondering how do they collect the leaves and construct the nest, they do so by coiling their body and wrapping the leaves and dragging them into the potential nest location. I suggest watching this short video by the Smithsonian Channel if you are curious. Anyway, they can lay around 7 to 40 eggs, and the eggs will hatch after 65 to 105 days. Oh, by the way, they are ZZZW, so their females are heterozygous. There is also evidence that they may exhibit facultative parthenogenesis, that is, the formation of newborn without any fertilization, so that's quite something. Even though hatchlings will inject less venom per bite, hatchlings can be more aggressive than the adults, and their venom potency is basically the same, so do be careful. Reports say their average lifespan is around 20 years, which is not that long, but slightly above average among snakes. And yeah, that's basically it. However, I would like to emphasize that studies on king cobras are mostly done by looking at them as one species complex, because, we lumped them into one species for almost 2 centuries. Perhaps we could find variants and specific life history for each species of king cobras. Now that we know there are 4 distinct species, maybe this will drive herpetologists to pay extra attention to these creatures. But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, making this video reminds me of an old comment on one of my videos. And no, female king cobras are not called queen cobras. It is what it is, I guess. Anyway, enjoy your day.